Well, here we are at the start of a new month. It's the Halifax Real Estate stats time, and we want to get these numbers out to you as quick as we can because there's definitely been some pretty big changes, lofty changes from what we've actually seen this month in terms of not only the numbers, but the average price. There's a little hint as well. So let's get into some numbers here and let's basically give you the big surprise, which is that the average sale price here in Halifax for the month of April hit $666,000. Dramatic pause here just to let that sink in a little bit, because that's, apart from a month last year in 2024, that's the highest we have actually hit in quite some time now. Yes, we'll go into the stats and we'll go into the detail, and there's definitely some reasons behind why we hit 666. But when we start looking and comparing those to like last month, well, that was $640,000, which is still a big number, like it is. And that means that we are up $26,000, which is roughly 4% on last month. So one thing we always like to do is go back to last year, and it was $633,000 in April last year, up $33,000 on that, which is 5%. Now, there's definitely some reasons for that. I think this month we'll kind of cover it later on, but we've hit some of the bigger price points, and some of the over $1 million properties that have sold have been quite a lot over $1 million. Let's put it that way. So there's definitely some deep pockets that are moving and buying up some of the properties here in Halifax. Now, if you've not met me, I am Richard Payne. I've been doing real estate here now for 13 years, living in Halifax, Nova Scotia for 18 years. And we are here to basically provide you with all the information you need. So if you're looking to move to Halifax from outside of the province, if you're looking to buy or sell here in Halifax, me and my team, we've got the skills that can help you. Now, moving on to days on market, we are 30 days on market. So yeah, 1 month. That's basically it. Comparing it to last year, that was 36 days on market. So we're obviously 6 days better than that. Last year was 37, 7 days better than that. Pretty straightforward math on the actual numbers. And this is the first time that we've actually gone down, because we have definitely been creeping up over the last few months. And it's been one of those things that properties have been staying on the market longer. Now, is this the fact that it's April and obviously all the snow is gone, it's nicer weather and things like that? Yeah, maybe. But I think also when we look at the average list price to the sale price, you'll see there that basically there's more buyers around. We've definitely listed more properties as well. So that's also a factor, because there's more choice. If there's a little bit more choice, then people are actually jumping on the properties quicker than they have in the past, for sure. Given that we've got obviously the increased sale price, the lower days on market, when we start looking at the months of inventory, we are down to just 2 months of inventory left in the marketplace right now. Now, last month that was 2.2, last year that was 1.8. So we're like down a little bit in terms of inventory, months of inventory from last month, but we're up a little bit from last year. So what does that all mean for the buyers? For all of the buyers, my suggestion right now is you're going to have to get out there and start actually shopping, because I've been through this process now with 3 clients of mine where they've not necessarily delayed looking at the houses because there's been other factors that has not actually allowed them to go and look at the house. But certainly sitting on the fence and saying, well, I've got a few days before I actually need to make a decision, has cost them the property. So the big thing I'm saying to all of my buyers right now, and we're kind of looking at the dry whiteboard over there to kind of go through the names on the list, is you can't just sit and go, it's okay, days on market have been increasing, more listings have been coming on, there's more choice, etc., etc. It's rapidly starting to shrink. And although it's looking an awful lot like April last year, when you start seeing the prices go up to 666, and you start seeing the days on market coming down to 30, and you start seeing the inventory coming down, but the listings are going up, that's a sure sign that it's time to actually jump into the market and start seriously looking at houses and find the one you want before you miss out. Number of houses sold, we were at 411 houses sold. Now, compared to last month at 320, we are up like 28% on the number of sales. And certainly that's been because there's more inventory that's come on the market. That's definitely one of the factors. But I think also there's just buyers that have been out there and they've been buying and they've been actually putting the offers, getting the offers accepted, and they've been really active in the market. So that's shown that we've jumped up. Now, compared to last year was 407, so 407, 411, right, it's kind of the same number. So no real change from last year, that's for sure. Number of houses active for sale, we're at 804 this month. Last month that was 707, so we're up like 14%, roughly 100 houses on that number. Last year it was only 714, so we're up 13% on that number as well. So the sales are up. Now compared to last year, the sales are about the same number, but obviously there was less active last year, hence the 1.8 months of inventory. This year we've got an extra 100 houses that are active for sale, hence we are up at 2 months of inventory. So that kind of explains roughly what's gone on in that section. Of course, the one big thing we want to look for is list price versus the sale price. So we know we sold at 666, but what did we actually list for? 666. So sale to list price. Now, again, let's go back to this. This is the list price that actually attracted the offer to make it go conditional. Not where did it start, where was it when somebody wrote an offer and it went conditional and then obviously went sold. So sale to list price is the same. Going back to last month, it was like more or less the same again. It was like 100.4%, so pretty much 100%. Last year, it was 101%. So again, not a huge difference. But when I looked at the average amount of price drops for the whole market, that was $41,000. And we've been saying this now, I think since January, since the start of the year. We're seeing a lot of price drops from when the property first came on the market, was first active. It was a brand new property, all shiny and sparkly and all of that kind of stuff. And they've had to do price drops to get to a price point where somebody says, go on, I'll write you an offer at that price. And that's really been the theme of the whole part of this year is read between the lines a little bit. Like, yes, sale to list price is the same number, but it's not when you kind of factor in the fact that there's been, and this isn't every house, like this is just those houses that had to do a price drop. What was the price drop? Houses definitely, because, you know, I'll kind of find the number maybe next month and look at the number of houses out of the 411 that actually had to do the price drop to get an offer accepted. And we'll see what that number is, because that would be an interesting one to find out. So that's one of the factors that you can look at to say, okay, it wasn't every house. 411 houses did not do a price drop to get an accepted offer. But when you look at the price drops that actually had to happen, $41,000 is a fairly average big drop to get a lot of houses. Now we'll go into the top 3 markets and we'll look at their particular price drops specifically and see what they actually have as well. One thing we did last month, which I think is kind of interesting when you start looking at it. So before we get into the top 3 markets, I want to look at this, which is in the individual price brackets, what were the number of sales and what were the days on market of those particular price brackets? Because that's going to give you an idea, not only if you are kind of starting to look at the market, what's your competition going to be like, but also where the most bracket, where the price bracket is, it's getting the most attention, getting the most sales. So when we look at the under 400,000 range, now remember, there was 411 houses sold. So when you look at under 400K, that was 26 houses sold with 35 days on market. So like there's not a lot for sale under $400,000. And these are properties that actually sold as well. So not a lot going on there. 4 to 500,000, that was 72 properties sold and 15 days on market. So if you're in that 4 to 500 range, you better move quick, that's for sure. 5 to 600, we're talking 105 properties and 21 days on market. So getting a little bit longer, but still fairly quick. And then 6 to $700,000, that was 74 properties, 35 days on market. 7 to 800,000, we're talking 65 properties and 40 days on market. So between that $500,000 and $800,000 range, that's where like almost all of the activity is. Yes, there's a good amount of houses in the 4 to 500 range, 72. But when you look at the other 3 price brackets, that's where the majority of everybody is buying. So for sure, that's going to be maybe first-time home buyers. It depends kind of what area you're looking at, but that's definitely what we call the trade-up houses. So it's like you've owned your first house and now you want to go into that second house. You need things a little bit bigger. Maybe you want a different area because you've got kids that need to go to school and you want them in a different school district. Maybe you need the backyard. Maybe you want a quieter neighborhood. The 5 to 800,000 range, That's that bracket. So that's where a lot of competition is and a lot of our properties are moving. Now let's move to the 8 to 900K. That's 29 houses, 50 days on market. 900 to a million, 18 houses sold, 66 days on market. And this is the surprising one. Over $1 million, 22 homes there and 60 days on market. So definitely longer because, of course, it's a bigger price bracket. Now, of those 22, there was 5 of them that were over $2 million. And I think that may be bringing up our average. But again, it's only like 22 houses out of 411 were over $1 million. So when you look at the average, like let's go back to this average price, 666, look at the 6 to 700,000 range. There was 74 properties there. So like you kind of look at that in terms of the percentage. You're talking around 16, maybe 17% of all the properties were sold in the average price range. So yes, we know that obviously 700, 800, 900 and over $1 million obviously has brought the whole thing up. But it's just interesting when you look at those stats and go, yeah, all the activity is 500 to 800. That's where all the activity is. And yes, the price range is 666. So it's kind of smack in the middle of everything. But it's just interesting when you look at that, because what that means for sellers is that's your most active price bracket. There's not a lot really going on over $1 million. And certainly the next time we do this, we'll bring in, well, how many are active in that area? So how many months of inventory, for instance, are sitting at over $1 million? Because that's how we'll work that one out. So we'll do that next time. So each time we do this, we're kind of giving you a little bit more information. But let's hit up the top 3 markets. Okay, number 1 was Timberley's Prospect St. Margaret's Bay again. It's been number 1 for quite a long time, and lo and behold, it's there again. List price there of $647,000. Sale price of $645,000. So like more or less, apart from $2,000, it's kind of the same number really. 45 days on market there, 35 sales in the month. That's what made it the number 1. 107 houses active for sale, which means 3.1 months of inventory, and that makes it our number 1 market. So 45 days on market is a little bit longer than the average, and certainly when you look at 3.1 months of inventory, there's definitely choice there. But again, like average price of 645, you're doing pretty well in there. But there's just a lot of houses in that upper Tantallon, St. Margaret's Bay. There's new construction down there as well. So it's certainly driving that whole area to be number 1. Number 2, we're in Beaverbank, Upper Sackville. Well, let's be realistic. This is Indigo Shores and Middle Sackville that is kind of driving this number. And again, it's just down to boundaries as to where that boundary falls in terms of, is it a Middle Sackville house? Is it an Upper Sackville house? Is it a Beaverbank? Beaverbank, especially that kind of, when we look at the price range here, you'll see that that's definitely, in the Lost Creek area. And also there's another new subdivision up there as well that's probably driving that number. List price of $746,000, sale price $737,000, so roughly $8,500, 1.2% lower in terms of sale price to list price. Now again, some of those over $1 million properties were definitely sold in this sub-district, and that means that there were some pretty good reductions in terms of list price versus sale price. And I think that's where that 10,000 is coming from, 8,500. I think it's coming from a lot of the big properties with the big price brackets having to do some good negotiations to get that offer accepted. 63 days on market there as well, so over 2 months. So things are taking a little bit longer. Again, higher price range, so that makes sense. 34 sales, 70 homes active, giving us just over 2 months of inventory in that area. And like I said, even though it says Beaverbank Middle Upper Sackville, I would call it Middle Sackville Beaverbank. Coming in the 3rd place, it's usually number 1 or number 2, depending, is East Hants, Colchester West, which is Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. List price there of $523,000. Sale of $528,000. So it's $5,000 over, 0.9%. So that's definitely an area to watch because, again, price points are actually pretty decent up there. It's just a little further outside. It's kind of like on the very edge of HRN. So that means your commute could be a little longer, but there's everything you kind of need up in that subdivision as well, sub-district. 32 days on market, 30 sales in the month, 87 active, gives them just under 3 months of inventory up there. So again, like there's plenty of choice. There's new construction up there as well. You've got the schools, you've got everything you need. You've got the rec centre with the swimming pool, as well as the library and the ice rink. Like we've talked about East Hants, upper I'm trying to think what it is again, but Enfield, Elmsdale, Lance area numerous times. And certainly if you go over the YouTube channel, you'll find some more information on that. So there's everything you kind of need up there, which is showing why it's still always in the top 3, because it's affordable price points, but also like it just depends whether you're okay doing a 45 minute commute to Halifax or Dartmouth. So that wraps up the market stats. And if you've stuck around this long, clearly you are interested in the Halifax real estate market. So if you can subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And then again, all of our contact links are down below. So if you want to get hold of me, have that conversation, talk about Halifax real estate, whether you're moving here, whether you're just looking to be one of those trade up buyers, then we would love to sit down and have a chat to you, or you can just schedule a call and we'll go over all of the questions that you've got.